not getting what it deserves, you are not getting what you deserve.
It wasn't in a livable condition, and we knew the family was living that way, and the smell in the house was so strong, it was difficult for us to be in there.
And so the kids all knew his mom, and they knew what she was doing out on the corner. And so they teased him.
I'll tell a kid in a minute, look, dude, I'm 65 years old, and I don't care how old you are, okay? You're still a student, you're a child, okay? And we're going to do things our way, not your way, you know, when it comes right down to it. And you know who the biggest gangster is on the campus? You're looking at him, okay?
Hello, everyone. I'm Joanne Ferry, and welcome to this Envision special, Building Expectations, a portrait of Lincoln High School. Lincoln is a school in southeast San Diego that was rebuilt 4 years ago. It's one of the most expensive campuses in the county, built in one of the poorest neighborhoods. The community had high hopes for the new school. Lincoln was supposed to provide a route to college for their kids, the majority of whom live in poverty. But as Lincoln's first freshman class prepares for graduation, few are destined for college.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcos, and I am currently a senior at Lincoln High School. I have attended Lincoln High School since it reopened.
It's remarkable Marcos Tovar is standing here, a gang member since elementary school, on drugs, with a .67 GPA in his freshman year.
Entering my senior year, I'm receiving a 4.0 GPA and was granted an opportunity to attend Sacramento State this fall. I thank all of Lincoln High School's members. Thank you.
Most of Marcos Tovar's classmates won't be going to college. In fact, many of his old friends won't even graduate high school. Tonight, a story about success and failure, and the school at the center. It was supposed to be a beacon of hope for the community and a path to college for students.
You get a fast car. I want a ticket to anywhere. Maybe we make...
You know, the expectations were great from the community because the previous superintendent had convinced everyone that Lincoln High School needed to rise like a phoenix.
On the surface, Lincoln High School is one of the nicest schools in the county. It opened 4 years ago to replace this small 50-year-old building. Mal Collins is the executive principal at Lincoln High School.
They wanted safety, and they wanted A through G curriculum, and they want highly trained and skilled teachers, and they wanted, and they wanted, and they wanted. And they said all of these things would come together, and promises were made. Of course, you know, how can you say no to a community that had been denied, you know, for so many years? And
before the old school was demolished, 300 students attended. When the new school opened its doors in 2007, 2,300 students showed up. The state-of-the-art, $120 million campus did what it was supposed to do, attract kids to school. But keeping them in class and making sure they pass state and federal exams has proven more difficult.
Because you're not taking this seriously.
I'm taking this seriously.
Well, what God? Come on, man. You know what I'm saying?
Just why so many kids at Lincoln are failing proficiency exams and not finding their way to college is at the heart of a national education debate, one that pits school reform against community reform. Is the school failing students, or has their community set them up to fail?
This neighborhood is not getting what it deserves.
Budget cuts, teacher layoffs, an economy forcing people out of work and out of homes.
And there's nothing like the power of the people, because the power of the people won't stop. Say what?
A neighborhood bogged down by poverty.
Martha and I went on a home visit about a month ago, and it was pretty dire. There was no flooring in the home. There was no furniture in the home. I would question whether or not they even had running water.
A neighborhood known for its rival gangs.
Service on the east side, killers on the west side. You go to war, you better ride or die.
That's what this school is up against.
We have a guy here who didn't finish the 8th grade. He has no documentation of any schooling that we can determine.
On this day, a 15-year-old boy shows up at Principal Mel Collins' office.
And he does speak English, or he doesn't speak English?
He does. Parents don't. This is the second one this morning. We just had a young fellow from San Diego High who had been sent to Hoover based on his address verification, who ended up on our doorstep.
He has 27 credits, 17 years old, and so he...
And this is his 4th year of high school.
Right, his 4th year of high school.
Martha Corrales is an administrator at Lincoln.
So tell me why schools don't want to take a student like that right now.
Right now, because it's testing season. And so whatever that student scores is going to affect your AYP and your API, and that puts you in program improvement. So most schools try to weed out their rosters and look at students. And the easiest way to weed out a student, because you can't say it's because you have a 1.34 GPA and 27 credits, it's if you don't live in the attendance area, then you don't belong here.
Lincoln is on program improvement status. That means it's not meeting the English and math standards under No Child Left Behind, the Federal Education Act. Last year, 1 in 4 students were proficient in language arts, 1 in 3 proficient in math. And while the school has made some improvement on state test scores, it ranks among the lowest of all high schools in California. Failing grades for a school that 4 years ago promised a community 85% of its graduates this year would be college-bound. Lincoln is far from achieving that goal. Last year, just 16% of the graduating class had the required courses to apply for college. Compare that to another new high school less than 20 miles north in an upper-middle-class suburb. Last year, 78% of Westview's graduates were college-ready. What a difference 20 miles can make. At Westview, 8% of the students live at or around the poverty line. At Lincoln, it's more than 80%. Almost half the adults near Westview have a college degree. About 1 in 6 have a master's degree or higher. More than half the adults that live in the area surrounding Lincoln didn't graduate from high school. 1 in 8 didn't finish elementary school. Last year, Lincoln made a list of the names of the 100 10th grade students who missed school most often and were failing. Martha Corrales decided to visit the homes of all 100 to find out why they weren't coming to school. Corrales enlisted the help of teacher Stephanie Brown.
We've been on another home visit where it wasn't in a livable condition, and we knew the family was living that way, and the smell in the house was so strong it was difficult for us to be in there.
As Corrales and Brown made their way through the list, what they found surprised even them.
This child, did not have his father. His father passed away, and he actually witnessed his father dying. He bled to death in a bathtub, and the mother shared the story with Martha, and we began to understand why the student was struggling in school. He's depressed.
And so then we find this young man pretty much alone, and with Grandpa passed away and having a lot of trouble just, coming to terms with the fact, why would my mother do this?
I have another young man who cares for his father who's on dialysis. He's pretty sick, and he's pretty much the primary caregiver for his dad. So 3 days a week he has to get dialysis, and this kid misses school 3 days a week because he has to ride the bus with his dad to dialysis. Somebody has to be there with the father.
And I noticed that she had all these absences, and she wasn't coming to school, and she was failing pretty much. I think she had straight F's and 1D at that point. She had straight F's and 1D. And so then I called the home and I asked Mom if I could come over because we needed to talk about what kind of supports we could put in place. When her older daughter said, you know, just tell her some of the things we face, she said, you know, she's hungry all the time.
This is the girl who is going hungry and not coming to school. And this is her mother, Angelise Morales.
Because sometimes there's nothing to eat. Sometimes there's problems. Because there's a lot of people here. 10 people live here, and it's 3 bedrooms. There's children, and there's just problems. Disagreements. And her daughters are affected by all that.
The 15-year-old girl doesn't want to be identified because she doesn't want her friends at school to know about her family's struggles. She lives with her mom and her sister out of this 1 bedroom in a shared apartment.
Yo aquí soy babysitter.
And so here I take care of 3 kids
A cambio de renta y comida.
in exchange for food and the room, but
El papá de los niños que cuido es papá soltero.
the father of the children, he's a single dad.
Y pues tal vez también él esté en una situación mala.
So perhaps he's in a bad situation too,
Pues tampoco alcanza para la comida.
because there wasn't enough for food.
Y pues a mí como no tengo otro trabajo, no me queda más que estar aquí.
And since she doesn't have another job, she can only stay here.
Me dijiste que es para separaciones, ¿verdad?
When Martha Corrales learned the family often went hungry, she took them to Costco.
I originally paid for the food with my credit card, and then when Mr. Collins found out about it, he reimbursed me pretty much for the whole thing.
From his own money.
How much did the food cost?
It was close to $500.
The 10th grade student is now attending school and no longer failing, but Morales knows it's a difficult road ahead to keep both her daughters in school.
You know, there are a host of issues before one even gets to the issue of academic preparedness and academic ability.
Dr. Joe Johnson is with the National Center for Urban School Transformation at San Diego State. The center looks for urban schools in poor neighborhoods that are succeeding and honors them with a special award every year. Johnson says for students in poor neighborhoods, just getting to school can be a challenge.
What if I don't have the school clothes that allow me to fit in like other children? Am I going to be embarrassed? Am I going to be ridiculed?
But Johnson says successful schools find ways around those problems. He describes what a school in New York City did to help just 1 kid get to class.
The bus route was such that his school bus traveled daily right in front of the street corner where his mom worked. And so the kids all knew his mom, and they knew what she was doing out on the corner, and so they teased him. And he didn't want to endure that teasing, so he decided that he just wouldn't ride the bus. But he didn't have any other safe way to get to school, so he wasn't coming to school.
The principal from that school changed the bus route.
All right, baby. I know. Come get it from me later. Thank you.
There doesn't seem to be a student on the Lincoln High campus who doesn't know Principal Mel Collins.
Josh, pull your pants up on you, please. Pull your pants up on you. Ladies, come on. Where are we going? What are we doing? And I think if you were to ask most kids on high school campuses or in school campuses, why do you come? A lot of them would say it's about him or her.
With more than 2,000 students enrolled and one of the lowest attendance rates in the district, the task of getting these students to school, one kid at a time, can be daunting. What is the school board, the school administration telling you, Mel Collins, now?
You can do better. You need to have double-digit gains in your test scores, and it's about test scores, and closing the gap and the achievement of kids. And you need to do X, Y, and Z, and it's the standard stuff that downtown types tell you. I get a little bit. No, I get a lot bit turned off when folks come in and say this is what you need to do, not denying what we are doing, but these are the other things that you need to do, without maybe asking us and sitting down and listening to us to find out not only what we've done and what we are doing, but how can I provide you the assistance and support that you might need to accomplish all of this. And they have no idea. I sometimes get really emotional about, until you walk in my shoes on a daily basis and you're here before the sun comes up and long after it's gone down, don't come and tell me. Come and listen to us, come and pay attention to what we are doing, and then maybe you can say, okay, from the resources that I have, this is what I can do to help you to be able to accomplish it.
Collins says when the new Lincoln first opened 4 years ago, some people told him there would be chaos on campus. Kids from rival gangs all ending up in one school together. But with 4 school security officers and a zero-tolerance approach from Collins, the chaos never happened.
I tell a kid, look, dude, I'm 65 years old. I don't care how old you are, okay? You're still a student, you're a child, okay? And we're going to do things our way, not your way, when it comes right down to it. And you know who the biggest gangster is on the campus? You're looking at him, okay?
But off campus, things are tougher to control. After this recent basketball game, a 17-year-old girl allegedly stabbed a 17-year-old boy. When Brenda Campbell was in 9th grade, she wrote an essay about wanting to be a school principal.
So after winning that contest, I said, you know what? I think I want to be a principal.
A graduate of Lincoln High School, she never imagined she would become an area superintendent. Last year, the San Diego Unified School District put her in charge of Lincoln.
This is my dream job. I love the opportunity to come in and take a look at what's working and what isn't working, and working with people so that we can make those changes and put in structures and systems to make it happen.
Campbell believes it is possible to close the gap at schools like Lincoln with high expectations, a rigorous curriculum, and calling on the surrounding community to chip in and provide support services to students and their families.
We are pursuing agencies and community organizations that have those services available and connecting them with the school and being able to access those resources when we need them.
I tell Campbell about the family that went without food.
And I believe it's the Chinese proverb about a fish. And what I heard you tell me is that they gave them a fish, but I would teach them how to fish. And that makes a difference in being able to overcome your obstacles, your challenges, and turn them into an opportunity.
Do you think you can teach everybody how to fish?
Yes, I do.
And the kids who can't afford bus passes?
If it was a significant number of students, we do have a possibility of changing the bell schedule. We do have the possibility of starting school later. And if that is the pleasure of the parents, the students, and the school, they can put a proposal together and then follow the contract in terms of the teachers' union.
But that doesn't help the kid who walks 2 miles to school. He's still walking 2 miles to school.
It would give him more time to get here to school.
Campbell says she's not tough, she's no nonsense. She would rather look for solutions than dwell on problems. Later in this interview, she said if she has to, she'll find a school bus and hire a driver for kids who have no other way to get to school. But she says she won't be turning to the state for more money because there simply isn't more. Instead, she's turning to the community.
Community-based reform. With community-based reform, I now have people coming to me from different organizations and saying to me, what can I do? How can I help? And so we are partnering together and developing these strong partnerships that we are going to those homes. And one organization said they would do door-to-door, knocking on doors and asking, what do we need to do?
Campbell recognizes the challenges Lincoln faces, taking in kids from 56 different middle schools, but she says the school can and must do better, including preparing more graduates for college.
My attitude and lack of guidance caused me to temporarily be removed from Lincoln. It was Lincoln's Dean of Students member, John Ross, and Executive Principal, Mel Collins, that saw the potential in me and gave me a second opportunity to redeem myself.
Marcus Tovar is just one of the several students at this meeting pleading to the San Diego Unified School Board to not lay off teachers. For him, the layoffs are personal. It was a principal, Mel Collins, and a teacher, John Ross, who, after suspending him from Lincoln, decided to give Marcos one more chance.
He told me that he had started a program for a group of 4 students. Only 4 students were allowed to join, and I'm assuming, or I know now, that him and Mr. Collins saw the potential that I had, and they gave me the opportunity to join the program. It was schools Monday through Friday from 1 o'clock to 5 p.m. So I couldn't socialize with nobody. It was like my own little jail cell that I had. I couldn't do nothing. If I had 3 strikes, I was done for good. There was no more Marcos at Lincoln. Like, that's it. I was never there.
When Marcus's grades began changing, something in him changed too.
I seen at the beginning of my sophomore year, which is 10th grade, it was a couple B's, couple C's, but it was, to me, it was more like, oh my God, that's an A to me. A C is an A to me. Like, wow, to me, I felt like that's an A. A B was like, oh my God, who could possibly have a B? Like me, really? Like, even when people would see my grade, I was like, what you have? I was like, I barely have a 2.3. They were like, what? What? That's like a 4.0 for you. That's what, but it wasn't. But to me, in my eyes, it really was, because I've never had those kind of grades since little. I've never had them.
Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose.
Both Brenda Campbell and Joe Johnson grew up near Lincoln High School. Campbell graduated from the old Lincoln, but Johnson never did. He was bused to other schools in the county. Their separate routes to success led them both back to the same place, back to Lincoln and schools like Lincoln, trying to make them better places. Brenda Campbell believes 4 years from now, 85% of Lincoln graduates will be college ready.
Maybe I'm being optimistic when I say I think we can make that 85. Because I think we have the foundation now. We have the systems in place. It's a matter of stepping back now and being more reflective and more creative, and then be able to move forward with the students. So I think we can make that 85.
I applaud the community for envisioning a school where a very high percentage of students would complete their program, their high school program, in a way that would give children options beyond high school, whether that included college or community college, etc. I think that that's noble and appropriate, and anything less would make me angry. But I also know how difficult it is. If we, in essence, send our legislators the message that it's okay to keep cutting our support of public schools, then we may be reneging on our responsibility. We are the ones who need to share some of that accountability for the lack of results that we're seeing.
The future for Stephanie Brown's and Martha Corrales' intervention program is uncertain. Corrales' position is being eliminated this fall. So is Principal Mel Collins' position. For Corrales, who 4 years ago promised parents that if they sent their kids to Lincoln, they'd go to college, it's a disappointing ending.
I think about this all the time. I feel very sad. I said. And when many parents came to me with concerns about, but is it going to be quality education? I said, yes, it will. And yes, it will. And it's not that we don't have the quality education, it's that our students, many of our students are not prepared for that quality education.
But despite failure, there is success, one student at a time.
Actually graduating, that's the number one thing. Graduating from high school. Other people, to them, is like, oh, it's high school. No, to me, that's just the biggest thing. I actually graduated from high school.
That's our show for tonight. For more programs like this, go to kpbs.org/envision. For KPBS and Envision San Diego, I'm Joanne Farian. Thanks for watching.